Hello, Serge here for the Backyard Driving Range. Today's question actually came in through the snail mail post office to our P.O. box. And this one comes from Jeff Fall from Harvey, North Dakota. And Jeff says, I began using the Peak Performance Golf Swing 2 seasons ago and really like the simplicity of the swing. Occasionally, however, I develop a problem that I have not yet been able to solve. The simplest way I can state the problem is that I hit the ball near the center line, resulting in these low sizzlers. Oh, that's a new comment I've heard about it, about low shots, low sizzlers. We've called them bug burners. And another thing you're calling it is near the center line. Most folks, that's absolutely appropriate. That means you're hitting it right in the center of the golf ball. And in the old days, when we had a lot of balls, that would have put one heck of a gash in it and created what we start calling a cabbage ball. But most people will also use the term you bellied it, or you got a belly ball. And so that's some other jargon that goes with that term of hitting the center of the ball. And it's a very, very hard hit. It might be clanky sounding, and the ball's going to just go out really low, and it could go in any direction depending on where the leading edge. Because what you're doing is you're hitting the center of the ball with the bottom of the golf club right here, the very sole of the club right there. So if you have the line here in that center, you're hitting it somewhere about there. Now naturally, a little fraction below it's still going to go fairly low, and it might go up a little bit. Slightly above it is going to just drive it probably right into the ground in front of you and start hopping. But you're hitting it with the bottom of the golf club in here. So that means somewhere along the line, you have to be somewhat coming up or out of the shot. Now the key is what exactly is causing that is what you're going to ask. Okay, I videoed my swing to see that what I might be doing differently when having a problem compared to the times I'm hitting the ball in the air and cannot spot the flaw. I can feel the difference as I'm beginning the forward motion, but can't see what I'm feeling. Can you offer anything that will help me get under the ball more consistently? Okay, absolutely I can offer you something. Again, as I've always stated many times, the setup determines the motion. And in terms of the motion, if most people would automatically say anytime they hit a ball poorly, they say, I picked my head up. And we know that that's one of the biggest lies there's going. Especially if one is, I might believe it if one is hitting the ball in the middle of the ball, and therefore hitting it, as we call it, thin or low sizzlers, or whatever term you want to use it. You're coming up, so that could imply picking your head up. But in most cases, if the head comes up, it's going to lift the arms and hands up. And we don't lift the head up because that could actually hurt yourself if you're making a full swing and you go down and jerk your head up. What you're doing is, for some reason, lifting your body up. And since you're lifting your upper body, or maybe straightening your legs out and lifting your upper body, that's pulling you up, and therefore you could hit it in the middle to the point of almost of whiffing it. So the point is, why is that happening? Well, we can go back into setup and start off with the big A, alignment. Many cases say if you're a right-hander and you're aimed out to the right, and you have to start getting your body out of the way and reverse weight shifting and throwing the arms at the ball to try to get it back to the aiming line to hit a straight shot, your effect that you're going and reverse weight shifting and the front leg straightening up, it's pushing you backwards, and in many cases your left arm starts breaking down sooner to allow the club head and the shaft and the club head to actually come more down the line, and that means if your forward arm, left arm is breaking down, the club's coming up, and therefore you can get the belly shot, that sizzler. That's one of them. Another one could be ball position. Could be in some cases maybe too far back, and then you're trying to come up out of the shot to hit it, so to speak, because that could be one. Could be too far forward, so you should have hit the ball here, but by the time you get to it, the club's on the upward swing going into the forward catcher's mitt, and therefore, since the ball should have been struck here where the club would be hitting the ball and the leading edge here getting into the ground, it should have been happening there, but you're holding on longer to get there, and boom, you're hitting it right in the middle and bellying it. All right, so that's a ball position, and alignment can do it. Now, another big one could definitely be just the fact that you're standing too close to the ball. Okay, so let's say your normal setup should be here, but you get in a little bit too close. And so now as you're coming down, you're going to have a problem of your hands and the club shaft coming too close to your back leg as you'd be coming into the ball. So what happens? You start to pull your legs away. You pull your legs away. The legs are straightening. The body comes up. All right? And that could cause it. So there are a multitude of problems, and the whole thing has to come down to is looking at and figuring out what is making you have your club get lifted a little bit. All right, so it could be just the elbow breaking down, and it could be the leg straightening up. But there's a whole host of problems, and the key is to get that camera you have and get back out there. And as you said, you film it when it's good and when it's bad. But what you got to start looking at is look at the points of the ball position. You need to start checking your alignment out when if all of a sudden out of blue you hit that shot, and as I've always said, when you've hit a shot and it doesn't, and it's not a good shot, or it's especially a good shot to a wrong place, come back, put the club down, and check out your alignment. All right, and that would be important because alignment could be a critical issue here, and alignment with ball position being off even worse can double that issue. So it's a case of we always want to keep doing positive things. Remember, rule number 5 is when you hit a bad shot and you ask yourself what you did wrong, the answer is who cares? Do the next one right. But when it'd be good for you to finally get some kind of idea of what's causing this, because I'm sure it starts going a little bit out of whack before it really hits big time. And sometimes if it doesn't and just hits big time, the point is if you got a pretty good idea of what's happening, you got even a better option of getting up and getting into a good setup, peak performance setup, to make a good peak performance swing. So check this out, and I'd say videotape yourself, and if you're playing with friends and it happens, get them to look at you and see if they can spot anything different about what your setup is, because the odds are very likely it comes back to setup. And again, a very, very high powerful one could be standing too close to the ball, and or even reaching, because if you're reaching a little bit too much and your body senses that you're going to fall into the shot, right about here it can stop pulling out a shot to stop your body from falling forward, and that'll thin it. So there's one more big cue for you to check that out. So again, we come back to the setup determines the motion, and I think there's a high probability your issues eventually go all the way back to setup, as happens in most cases of poor swings were, so to speak, predetermined by the fact that the setup wasn't correct, and there had to be adjustments made, compensations made in the swing to maintain balance, because the balance buddy has one job: to help you stay balanced. Doesn't care how you hit the ball, it just stay balanced. So take it all the way back to setup, and I think you'll find that's where the problems are, and I gave you a number of them right here to check out. All right, so I think there's a good chance your problem lies somewhere in the ones we talked about today. And so with that, you should be hopefully hitting it much more consistently solid and straight, and therefore shooting lower scores. That's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.